From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. Well, we are now into June, so I think the main focus would be on the Minnesota Twins. Obviously, Minnesota United and the Minnesota Lynx are going to garner some attention, maybe even your Aurora. But I think the Twins are front and center. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, since the Timberwolves went down the drain, I think the focus does shift to the Twins. In some ways, they were fortunate that the focus was on the Timberwolves in May, as they went on a 7-game skid and kind of battled through that. But at the same time, they had a 12-game winning streak. They had another streak on the flip side, on the outside of that 7-game losing streak. So, yeah, I mean, it really is all Twins now until training camp rolls around, and then it becomes all purple. And if the Twins stay relevant, that is.
Yeah, and for the Twins, I think the challenge is getting more people into the ballpark. They have, as we know, television issues, so if you want to see this team, you almost have to go to trendy Target Field. Now, the division, so far, better than a lot of us thought. Well, your Cleveland Guardians, I figured they would be near the top, and they are. But Kansas City, they've been a surprise so far. Detroit's been okay. Chicago White Sox are a forest fire.
A forest fire, a dumpster fire.
Yeah, this is one
train
of the
wreck.
Worst collection of baseball players in the history of MLB. But anyways, so the Twins, yeah, they've been streaky. Yes. I mean, they've had losing streaks. They've had winning streaks. Royce Lewis is back, though. I think that's huge as long as he can stay on the field, because that's been his bugaboo. He's going right down the same road Byron Buxton has. Now let's just hope it's bad luck. But he needs to stay on the field.
Yeah, and he brings energy, too.
Oh, boy, yeah.
He's not just a player. He brings energy.
And the fans like him. I think we saw that last season, especially into the playoffs. Royce Lewis already is one of the top 2 or 3 Twins in terms of popularity. I think Buxton's popular, but again, his issue has been durability. Carlos Correa, I think there's a following for him. But Lewis has something magnetic about him.
Yeah.
There's that, and again, I'm not saying he's what these guys were yet, but he has a little Torrey or a little Kirby in him where people gravitate toward him. And if he can just keep playing baseball, that will only increase, in my opinion.
I think the other thing is that his teammates like him. I mean, he's not, the fans seem to enjoy him because he brings that energy that I talked about. But his teammates like him, too. And I think that they feed off of what he does out there. And the Grand Slams, that was all well and good last year. It seemed like every time he came to the plate, he was going up there with the bases loaded, and he would deliver. But, yeah, and I think that he brings, the defense at third base that they missed. And I don't know. If this guy can stay in the lineup, as you said, keep him healthy, I think that they've added a big piece here. And, maybe they can make a run. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. The Guardians have been very good so far. They don't show any signs of letting up. And, again, like I said, the Royals are better. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But the Twins seem to have Kansas City's number. Mm-hmm. They've only lost a couple of games to KC, and I believe they've played 6, so they're 4-2. But they are 0-5 against the Guardians, so they're going to have to fix that the next time they go head-to-head with Cleveland. I think the other thing, at least for me, so far, Simeon Woods-Richardson.
Yeah.
What a find for the Minnesota Twins.
No doubt.
Basically a lightning bolt out of the sky. He's been very effective. And who knows, if he can keep this up, that rotation is a lot better than we thought it would be. Because remember, they had some guys they thought they would have in the rotation that got injured.
Right. Or
left.
Yeah, and then you got Bailey Ober, who's been up and down.
Let's
not sugarcoat that. And really, Pablo Lopez has not been the Pablo Lopez we saw last year. I mean, he was Cy Young candidate last year. Wasn't that far behind Sonny Gray. So I would say
an all-star too.
Right. So, minus what they got from Pablo Lopez last year, I mean, if Pablo has a big second half, I think that Simeon Woods-Richardson and the rest of that staff, they could they could very well vault this team, back into serious contention for not just winning the division or getting into the playoffs, but making a run.
Yeah, and that's got to be the goal. So I would say this, I can't tell anybody how to spend their money, but, school's just about out. The warm weather is here, and the Minnesota Twins are, I think, at the minimum, going to be in the wild card chase. They may even run down the Guardians, who knows, in the AL Central. But there's reason to go out and watch the team at Target Field.
Because you can't see them on TV.
Exactly.
At least if you have Comcast, you can.
And if they can get back in the playoffs, we saw how much fun that was last October when they actually won a series over Toronto, and then then they faced Houston, and the rubber met the road there because they lost in 4 games to the Astros. But that's what has to happen. They have to build on last year, and I don't know if they will, but that's the goal.
No. By the way, earlier this week on Tuesday, we found out that TV deal at the earliest is going to be fixed at the end of July. That's at the earliest. It doesn't look like that's happening at all. It's going to be a disaster.
No, you're going to have to either go to the ballpark or go to sports bars or.
A lot of sports bars, they have the same problem.
That's true.
They have Comcast too.
Find your friendly video pirate who can help you.
There you go.
Get it out of the sky in ways maybe that the FCC doesn't want you to get.
Or it's online somewhere. Just keep looking.
All right, stick around. We're going to talk purple in June.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Jeff Robinson will share his thoughts on JJ, Justin Jefferson, and JJ McCarthy. 10,000 takes. Your Twins ticket.
Hot rod, collector cars, street rods, muscle cars, vintage Corvettes. Oh, my goodness. Whatever you ride, Lakeville loves them, too. There are many great car events in the area that you will love Lakeville as much as you love your cars. Join us for Cruise Night in July, featuring a classic car and truck parade throughout our city and historic downtown. Plan your trip at visitlakeville.org.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I'm owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so we're always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Maya? Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K Takes continues, and I know for you, it's always football season. You always want to talk about the NFL. And much to my dismay, we have to do that. But I'm happy to announce that we have got a guy that we like having on the show, Jeff Robinson. Last time we talked to you, Jeff, who, of course, was in the Vikings front office for a number of years. The Minnesota Vikings were trying to decide what they wanted to do, if they wanted to move up in the draft, so on. They ended up with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. But most notably this past week, speaking of JJs, they signed Justin Jefferson to a huge contract, the largest contract ever for a non-quarterback. Your thoughts on what they gave JJ and how that is going to affect the organization either positively and or negatively?
First, I think you have to say kudos to him because he earned it in every way, shape, and form with the numbers that he's put up so far in his career. I think the other thing that you have to look at is without Kirk Cousins being there, they don't have anybody besides Jefferson that they can market league-wide, that has league-wide name appeal at this point in time. So they really need him for multiple reasons. And the last reason is for the continuity of this. They had to get him in the fold so that they can start to build and grow with whoever's going to play quarterback for them going forward.
Yeah, and JR, Sam Darnold, who he was a top pick back in the day with the New York Jets, but he hasn't fulfilled the potential, let's put it that way, yet. And then you got J.J. McCarthy, the supposed franchise quarterback out of Michigan. If you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, that's a pretty good troika of pass catchers. Can they elevate a Darnold and a young rookie McCarthy?
Well, you hope that that's the case. You hope that they've built enough things around the quarterbacks to where you're not counting on the quarterback solely to win games for you. And obviously it's a team game, but you don't want the pressure to be such that the quarterback is always feeling like they have to win the game, particularly if you got one guy who's new to the system and another who's a rookie. So when you bring somebody like Justin Jefferson back into the equation, now it gives the defenses a lot more things that they have to deal with. And then when they get Hawkinson back from his injury to go along with Addison in his second year, now you've got a lot of playmakers that will definitely take the pressure off of the quarterbacks. And then if the O-line and the running game hold up as you expected they would, now you're talking about a team that A, can control the clock, and B, put a lot of points on the board, which obviously helps a young defense.
They say that they never even entertained the thought, the Vikings say, of trading Justin Jefferson, that this was the intention all along, was to get him signed, sealed, and delivered. Do you believe that? If so, why? And if not, why not?
I think if you look at it from a realistic standpoint, knowing that your quarterback is probably not going to be on your team going forward from last year's perspective, I think the guy that you go into this season knowing that you need is Justin Jefferson. A, because again, you need a guy who can stabilize things and who can take the pressure off the rest of the offense, because teams have to work on a game plan to shut him down. But B, because he carries league-wide star power, and you need somebody like him that you can market and put fear in defenses of. But, really the thing that he does that not a lot of other guys across the league can do is not only can he force defenses to change what they do, but even when you do that, he can still make plays. And there's not a lot of guys in the NFL who can do that no matter what position they play. So when you have him on your team, basically it's like having two or three different guys. And, it's one thing to say you're going to trade somebody like that, but then you also have to think about what are you going to put into the equation if you do trade him. And now you can say, well, we'll get these draft picks or we'll get these players, but for them to equate to what he does on the field currently, that's a tough equation, and you don't know the answer to it. And if you don't know the answer going in with, again, a new quarterback or a rookie quarterback, that leaves a lot of question marks. So I think that they probably did entertain some calls, but I just don't know if this is the guy that you want to get rid of, because, one, he's a good person, and two, he makes a lot of big plays.
Yeah, and he said at his news conference, I'm going to be the leader of this team. So he's taking charge in that regard. And let's face it, JR, he won the NFL lottery here. $140 million 4-year extension, $110 million guaranteed. Is this a cap-friendly deal, though, for the Minnesota Vikings? And I ask that because, remember, when they signed Kirk Cousins, it wasn't cap-friendly. Will this hamstring this franchise?
I don't think it will, because of the fact that, A, his money will be spread out and there's still space. Kirk never had unguaranteed money, basically, so there was no wiggle room to work on other contracts. But with this one, there's room to work on other contracts, and so that gives the team a lot of flexibility in what they're trying to do going forward. But also, if you look at it going forward again, this might have been a great team-friendly deal, because there's a lot of guys who are waiting for Justin Jefferson to get his contract done, and you look at the names throughout the league who A, are not practicing, or B, have a minor injury that's flared up all of a sudden. So I think there was a lot of players that were waiting for this deal so that they could see how these numbers shake out. So you have to be happy for the player and the team in this situation, because I think it worked out well for both of them.
What do you like about J.J. McCarthy? And what are things you think he is going to have to adapt to and or adjust to in the National Football League based on his game at Michigan?
A, I think you always have to like the fact that he's a winner. He's been a winner his whole career, whether that was in youth hockey or whether that was in football, but he's always been a winner, A. B, the thing that comes up with all young quarterbacks, no matter where you got drafted at is the fact that the pro game and the college game are so much different. Whereas the college game is basically a lot of throws outside the numbers and the hashes, and the pro game, it's between the hashes. And when you're in the college game, you get rid of the ball a lot faster outside to where there's not as many players. And so you have to get used to basically which guys are coming at you, the speed at which players are coming at you, and the positions from which they're coming from. And that's a lot different in the pro game than it is from the college game. So there'll be a bit of an adjustment. But again, the guy's proven that he can win. He hasn't really lost many games, and he seems to have a personality that players attract to and or gravitate to. So I think you'll see him have a lot of success. But there's growing pains for all young quarterbacks because the games are so different. But I think him playing for a former quarterback at Michigan, I think that will also help him because he and they together have probably gone over a lot of scenarios that take place in the NFL already.
Well, JR, it's the middle of summer, or we're headed towards summer anyway. It feels like summer. We'll be talking to you again, I'm sure, as they head to training camp in the not-too-distant future.
Sounds good, my friends. You guys take care.
Thanks, JR.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, he is Jeff Robinson. We are 10,000 Takes. We'll be back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
I'm strolling in historic downtown Lakeville, which is the heart of Panaprog activities. Panaprog is short for Panorama of Progress, and this festival has been going on since 1967. Over 65 events spanning over a week. You'll need to stay more than a night to get your fill of fun. Panaprog offers a wide variety of events and activities for all ages. Panaprog is a celebration of all things local. Plan your trip at visitlakeville.org.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grana. I am owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grana Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Well, just when you thought we were done talking basketball, Timberwolves get eliminated from the postseason, and you figure, well, we'll shelve it for a while. By the way, before we get into the next subject, were you disappointed, disillusioned by the Timberwolves' early exit from the playoffs in that Western Conference final?
If I'm going to capsulize the season, I would say it was a lot of fun, especially those playoff games. I mean, I'll give the fan base a ton of credit. They brought the energy. But it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
You were knocking on the door of the NBA Finals. I know everybody thinks they're going to take the next step, but that is not guaranteed.
No,
folks.
you don't know that.
That is not even close to being guaranteed. So missed opportunity, but we had fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that what this is about anyway?
It's about being entertained.
Yeah.
I'm a simple Simon. Just entertain me.
Well, that's kind of how I look at the movies, too. You go to the movies.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a great movie. I just want to be entertained. Okay. So I said we're going to talk some more basketball. WNBA. Boy, they've been hitting the headlines lately, and I don't know if it's for all the right reasons or not. We know about Caitlin Clark, #1 overall pick. She got all the attention. She brought Iowa to the national championship game where they lost. I mean, she's a terrific player. She gets knocked around on a nightly basis, usually and almost always as part of the game, just physical basketball. I think she's, getting used to how rough the WNBA is. But then along comes Kennedy Carter of the Chicago Sky. And, you know, she's had her run-ins with teammates and bad apple down in Atlanta. They let her go. And so she had to go over and play in Turkey. How appropriate was that, by the way? The turkey playing in Turkey. Well, then she takes a shot at Caitlin Clark when the ball wasn't even in play and blows the roof off of everything. What are your thoughts? I just think that my concept is, why are you going after this person who is the meal ticket for this league? I mean, they have not had this much attention on this league ever. I'm sorry, not even opening day of their very first season. The games that Caitlin Clark played this past weekend, there were over 19,000 fans at each of those two games. They didn't get that in the past. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and there's resentment. I think it's clear in the WNBA because you have players right now that are better than Caitlin Clark.
No
like
doubt.
Ajay Wilson out in Las Vegas, and that's just one example. But
Nafisa Collier right here in Minnesota.
Yeah, Nafisa Collier's excellent. I mean, she's a great player. She's already been Player of the Week this year in the WNBA. So you have some resentment. You also have, look, she's a rookie. She comes in, you know, as this most decorated women's college player maybe ever, and they want to they being the opponents, want her to earn everything. So, and that's the way it should be. Nothing should be given to Caitlin Clark. But what Kennedy did, that was just a cheap shot. Now, was it assault like the Chicago Tribune claimed? No. In hockey, it would be called a weak hip check. But no, you can't do that. There's no place for that. And you get rid of that. Play hard? Yes. You know, muscle her up in the paint, make her work for her shots, even beyond the arc? Yes. But I think overall this is good for the WNBA.
Oh, boy.
Can you remember a time when this league, which has been around 28 years, has ever gotten this much publicity?
There has not been.
I mean, everybody's talking about it. And you need a rivalry. And Angel Reese with the Sky also, she's going to take on the villain role.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Angel's helped prop the game up. Maybe not as much as Caitlin. But
Maybe?
She did win the ring at LSU. Caitlin didn't get one at Iowa. But I think it's good to have Angel against Caitlin. You know, the next time they play, and that's not that far down the road, it's in mid-June, guess what? Going to garner huge ratings, and it'll be a sellout. You're going to be watching, or at least get the highlights.
Well, I'll watch the highlights.
That'll be fun.
The WWE.
I'll be entertained.
The WWE WNBA.
Exactly.
They just added 3 more letters to the front of their name. Okay. Before we go to break, I want to switch over and mention our women's hockey team. The Minnesota PWHL wins a title. They brought a title home, baby.
Yeah, they did in year number 1, and they did it on the road at Boston, so congrats. And, you know, let's cut to the chase here. The male teams in Minnesota do not win championships.
You are correct.
The female teams do. Lynx have 4 banners. PWHL is 1 for 1. But please get them a nickname. I've been saying that since the start of the season.
Stupid.
That's a missed opportunity. How many shirts and caps and jerseys could they have sold if they were the North Stars or the Northern Lights or whatever? They blew that. Whoever's in charge of marketing for the PWHL, they blew it.
Yeah.
Big time.
Get your thinking caps on. All right. Speaking of thinking caps, coming up next, the favorite part of every week's show, Takes of the Day. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Hot rod, collector cars, street rods, muscle cars, vintage Corvettes, oh my goodness. Whatever you ride, Lakeville loves them too. There are many great car events in the area that you will love Lakeville as much as you love your cars. Join us for Cruise Night in July, featuring a classic car and truck parade throughout our city and historic downtown. Plan your trip at visitlakeville.org.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grana. I'm owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grana Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
$10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode before we say goodbye.
Yes.
Takes of the day. We're going to find out what your mood is. Are you all heated up? A grumpy guardian? Maybe you're a giddy guardian. Your team's in first place.
Yes, they are.
Cranky cavalier, demanding diva. What is it today?
I got a two-parter for you.
Oh, boy.
Okay. I'm going to start with the Minnesota State High School League. Well, earlier this week, they finally stepped once again into the 21st century, maybe even into the 20th century. Yes, they okayed seeding 1 through 8 at the state basketball tournament and at the state hockey tournament. Before, they seeded them 1 through 5, and then 6, 7, and 8 was a blind draw. A ridiculous way to go. But they finally have joined the rest of the planet Earth on doing things right when it comes to seeding a tournament. Congratulations, Minnesota State High School League. As usual, it takes you forever to get things right. You still don't have it right with sections, by the way. That's still an absolute disaster. Okay, part 2. And this goes to my television viewing habits, which have been severely interrupted, as have many in the Twin Cities area and beyond, by the continuing debate between Xfinity /Comcast and Diamond Sports Group /Bally Sports. So you can't see Twins games if you have Comcast /Xfinity. They are at a stalemate right now, the two sides, and trying to figure this thing out going forward. So you can't get them on cable. And that is a large portion of the viewing audience. Look, and this thing isn't going to be solved at least till the end of July, it looks like now. The judge in the case has given the go-ahead for Diamond Sports Group to get their act together by the end of July. It was supposed to be the middle of June, now it's the end of July. Okay? And by the way, that's going to start interrupting possibly what the NHL and NBA teams do. Now, my suggestion, and I've been saying this all along, Dave St. Peter, if you are listening, team president of the Minnesota Twins, put your games on over-the-air television. I don't care if you have to take off his Laverne and Shirley reruns on channel 4.8 or whatever that's out there. Get them on over-the-air television. There's plenty of options. Heck, we can watch St. Paul Saints games on over-the-air television, but we can't watch the Minnesota Twins. Please fix this.
Check that mood meter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, just what I thought. Demanding diva. All right, well, we'll see if the Twins are paying attention.
No, they have to go out and sell ads.
Yeah. Speaking of television, I'm going to stay on that genre here because I'm going to give props to ABC, the American Broadcasting Company, because the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals begin this week. You've got the Oilers and the Panthers, the Mavericks and the Celtics. Should be some good television. All of those games, no matter how long each series goes, will be on ABC, over-the-air television, meaning anybody with a TV can tune in, which is the way it should be. Of course. Because I have no earthly explanation for why college football puts its title game and all its bowl games on ESPN. I have no earthly explanation for why March Madness, your championships now, the Final Four, are not on CBS. It's ridiculous. It's dumb. But at least in this case, the fan is getting the reward. And I'm happy that ABC is stepping up. And by the way, get more Monday Night Football games on ABC. That's a demand from me.
There you go, demanding Eric.
On that note, let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to David Weld, Paul Langfellow, Rocky, Jeff Robinson, for Wally. I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.